The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. In 1974, director Tobe Hooper took the world by storm and ushered in a new era of horror movies with this iconic, gory classic. Surprisingly, this is one of the few non-bloody horror movies ever made. This is because Tobe Hooper intended for the film to be rated PG by keeping the violence to a minimum, the language to be moderate, and most of the horror to be suggested rather than displayed in great detail on screen. This strategy, however, backfired, making the film even more terrifying, because the ratings board persisted on an X rating despite cuts and multiple submissions, and it wasn't until the film obtained an R classification that Hooper gave up and released it. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, 1986. Hooper returned after a hiatus of almost a decade to release the sequel to the first installment of the Leatherface franchise. Hooper and Kim Henkel, co-writer of the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, had a concept for a sequel that would contain an entire town of cannibals, as well as be a satire of the film Motel Hell, which was itself a satire of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The sequel's original title was Beyond the Valley of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but the studio insisted on significant modifications to the screenplay, even hiring a new screenwriter, and the result was the much-loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, 1990. The third movie was released only 4 years after the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but it started off the downward spiral of the franchise in the 90s. The first script included explicit gore scenes and was significantly more savage. Many of the sequences were deemed offensive by the producers, who sought major screenplay modifications to lessen gore and violence. After the move was completed, more cuts were needed to avoid an X rating. At the start of filming, director Jeff Burr was fired, but later rehired after no one else applied for the job. All of this chaos resulted in a movie that the creators wish they could erase from all our memories. And truthfully, so do us.
You like it, don't you?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, 1995. The next installment was another failed attempt at reviving the franchise and ended up being a flop. Shockingly for many fans, when Matthew McConaughey auditioned for this film, he did it for a different, minor role. But before departing, director Kim Henkel inquired whether he knew of someone who could play Vilmer, the villain. McConaughey suggested 2 acting classmates and walked away. Just as he was about to drive off, he turned around, went back in, and asked to audition for the role himself. Henkel handed him a spoon from the kitchen and urged him to use it as a knife to scare his secretary. McConaughey's performance was so convincing that he was cast as Vilmer on the spot, the only saving grace for this forgettable movie. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, 2006. Capitalizing on the return of hack-and-slash horror movies to the mainstream in the 2000s, a prequel to the 2003 movie was released just 3 years later and became a cult classic among the fans of the genre. Andrew Form and Brad Fuller, the film's producers, chose not to make a sequel to the 2003 film. However, fans continued to approach them inquiring as to how the family came to be that way, as well as several unsolved questions from the 2003 version. As a result, the producers let Sheldon Turner create the script for a prequel after meeting with Michael Bay, and they were ready to make it, and aren't we all glad they did? Texas Chainsaw 3D, 2013. After deciding to abandon the remainder of the franchise, Texas Chainsaw 3D picks up as a straight sequel to the original film, but is widely regarded as the weakest film in the franchise. Originally, there was a proposal for a new trilogy. The movies would be released in reverse chronological order, with the second film premiering first and taking place almost completely in a hospital. The following film would be a prequel, detailing the events leading up to the hospital setting. The tale would be completed in the third film. The producers decided to make a sequel to the original instead. Leatherface 2017. This movie shed light on the backstory of the infamous Leatherface and is miles apart from any of the other entries in the franchise. Tobe Hooper returned to the franchise one final time as an executive producer on this project before his death in 2017. Due to budgetary reasons, the movie became the first ever on the entire franchise not to be filmed in the United States. Instead, it was shot in Bulgaria. Angela Bettis had been cast in the film, but had to pull out owing to schedule issues. Lily Taylor was brought in to take her place.
I tried to help you.
Done good, Jed. You made Mama proud.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. This year saw yet another entry to the beloved franchise, which has polarized the fan base of the original movies. The latest installment abandons the rest of the franchise once more, opting for a fourth distinct continuity in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Many fans will be surprised to hear that Sally's barn and house, which can be seen during her debut phone call scene, were originally built for the film Rambo: Last Blood. In this film, as well as the original 1974 version, the great John Larroquette plays the role of narrator. The film was supposed to be released in theaters in 2021, but all plans were shelved after a series of terrible test screenings. After that, it was sold to Netflix.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.